I'm Bob Mills, the play-by-play broadcaster of your Orlando Solar Bears. Joining me right now is the head coach of the Solar Bears, Vince Williams, able to give us a special report right now. Coach Williams, you made the trek all the way up to Toronto to check out the start of our American Hockey League affiliate, the Toronto Marlies, as they get training camp going here this week. Obviously, some players there in Toronto that we're going to be seeing a lot of here this season in Orlando. Can you maybe talk a little bit before we get into specifics about some of these players, but just what you've seen overall in camp in the couple of days that you've been out there?
Well, we've been fortunate, with the full affiliation with Toronto here to be able to really utilize all the resources and able to, see a lot of these players. And we certainly have, a lot of signed players and some other guys that, who we've, had in the past in Orlando at this camp. It's probably the most I've actually seen, in history of my coaching in this league. Is probably the biggest presence that I've, that I was able to watch the amount of players signed and potential players that we could receive in these last 2 days. So, which has been really positive, and also to get to, meet some of these guys and put a face to the name, and also see how they progressed over, the summer. And so it's been a great experience thus far, and which systematically too, there's a lot of similar philosophies and things that, that we both have in common, our two hockey clubs, and which I think will make it an easier transition for these guys to acclimate, if they end up in Orlando.
How much of an advantage, I don't know if that's necessarily the right word, but how much does it help you to be able to see some of these guys that you haven't seen before, like you mentioned, in an American Hockey League training camp, and then if they should end up in Orlando at some part of the season, does it give you a benefit there to know a little bit about their game other than just the scouting reports because you have actually seen them in action?
Well, the positive thing that we talked about was for a lot of these guys, some of these guys that are going into the first year pro, and some of the guys have had a significant layoff, it's a great preparation for them when they get to our camp. So if they've already been skating and they've been, they're in shape, and their timing is already going to be that much better when they do get to us, which is going to be an additional benefit and advantage for us. So, but also, to see how these guys separate themselves against players that are American League level players, and then you get to see these guys that are, having to compete for jobs and making impressions, and that's where you get to see these guys as far as their separation within themselves and the internal competition that they have, and it's a great for them to showcase themselves as well to the Marley staff, and know that if there's and there will be opportunities throughout the season for them to be able to pull from us, whether it's a contractor guy or a free agent guy. At least it gets them some exposure, and then basically, works in their advantage as well. So, we're really excited, to get started this season. And it's also, like I said, been a great, experience to be able to see these guys and what they can do and they can bring to the table.
How similar are some of the systems that we run here in Orlando in terms of maybe how the power play works, how the team functions in the offensive zone with what the Toronto Marlies are doing? And does it help maybe to have those systems going hand in hand to be able to be up in Toronto and see what they're working on in training camp, and maybe kind of help you decide exactly the way you're going to approach some of these things here in Orlando?
Well, the similarities are scary, and it wasn't like they were originally planned. It just seemed to work out that way. I mean, it stemmed from last year, when we were, dealing with, Steve Spott, who was the head coach of the Marlies at the time, and we talked about some things and some adjustments that we made last year throughout the season. And, and we've kind of followed suit. So I was fortunate to sit down with the Marlies coaching staff the last few days, and we're very similar and very much on the same page as far as our systems. There's a couple of adjustments that, that we tinker with that might be a little different from them, but, collectively the core and the base of their structure is very similar to ours, which, from a teaching standpoint, it's going to be a lot, a familiarity when we do get players that we play a similar way in certain areas of the ice, and even in the special teams. So, that's great. And it's also great to bounce some ideas off each other to find out the advantages of doing things a certain way and the disadvantages of doing things, and kind of come in, good, healthy dialogue and communication, which again, we're here to help each other out and the organization out in any capacity. And we said it from day one when we, decided to move to a single affiliation with Toronto, that these are all aspects that, are going to help us. It's going to help grow the coaching staff down here, also the players, and vice versa. So, any way that we can, have this type of communication, positive dialogue, it's only going to help and infiltrate throughout the system and make it a lot more successful.
And there certainly are some Solar Bears who we know very well here in Orlando who are up in Toronto right now to participate in American Hockey League training camp, and some of those bigger names. Now, there's a lot of them, so we certainly don't have time to touch on all of these guys, but two of the leading scorers from the team last year in Orlando, Jacob Cephas, Mickey Lang, both up there in Toronto. How have those two players looked in the couple of days that you've been there?
Well, the first day they were playing together in the scrimmage, and you could already see the chemistry that they do have together. Which for me, being able to see them and read off each other and the type of players that they are, especially in the offensive zone, they're a threat. And I know Jacob assisted on a couple goals yesterday. Matt Lang had a goal yesterday as well. And I really thought that today, they were separated in the lines, and I thought Jacob was a lot stronger today. Also had a goal in the scrimmage as well. So those two obviously are very gifted, dynamic players for us and dynamic players in our league. And for them to be, showcased with a higher level of competition, obviously, there's a little bit of a size difference as well. And to see what they can still produce at that level, that's going to be the challenging thing for them, and which is great. So this is a great opportunity for them, to showcase them, because they're both guys that have profiles and have been very important, pieces of the puzzle last year. And obviously Mickey Lang, was the league MVP. So, and it gets exposure, and I know that, they both haven't really attended any American League camps in the last few years. So, for them to kind of, get in there and showcase themselves and almost, in a marketing way, be able to, show what they can do. So they're both, guys that I thought had pretty strong days the last 2 days that I've seen, and in the hopes that they can continue and be able to, stay up here as long as they can.
And, of course, the Solar Bears are not that far away from starting training camp themselves. The Orlando Solar Bears opening up training camp. First day on the ice will be this coming Saturday. Are there any ideas, perhaps, that you've gotten from attending training camp up there on things that you may incorporate into Solar Bear training camp this time around that you haven't in the past?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, when we're really looking at putting this team together this year, it's going to be a highly competitive camp. I mean, probably one of the most competitive camps that I think I've ever been a part of. Obviously, the quality of players that we do have. So, the aspect of teaching and getting into it right away is huge. I mean, it's these guys' jobs are to come into camp in shape, and that's the guys that are, well prepared and in shape are going to give themselves the best chance to make the team. So, as far as anything that we will do out of the norm, I think it's important that, the time is of the essence for us to teach right away, and that's to implicate the systems from day one, and that's to focus on, all aspects of, all three zones that we need to improve upon, try to put some lines together and generate some chemistry, but also, use this time to teach, because once you get past those exhibition games and you're making decisions on players, the season is right there. So, we talked about, the format of what we want to try to do for our training camp compared to what they normally do because of the volume of players that they do have. They've had players in Toronto that have, come from the rookie camps to the NHL camps and now to the American League camps. So, they've been doing it for a while, and they've been implementing their system for since the rookie camp. So, we need to be able to make decisions in a short period of time, and we want to make sure that we give these guys all the resources for them to be successful so that they can, give themselves the best opportunity to make this team. And like I said, the teaching aspect and implementing the systems right away and executing is going to be a key point, especially with, how quick the season, how quick the turnaround is for us.
Well, Coach, we really appreciate you taking the time to jump on with us, give us a little bit of insight into what is happening up there in Toronto. Thanks a lot, Coach.
Thank you very much.
That is, of course, the head coach of the Orlando Solar Bears, Vince Williams. Don't forget, Solar Bears training camp will be opening up this weekend, preseason games the following weekend, and then opening night for the very first game of the season. That'll be going on October 18th, Saturday night, 7 o'clock game. Single game tickets on sale now. You can call the Solar Bears, 407-951-8200, or visit OrlandoSolarBearsHockey.com.